She thought she was too busy for cancer until life made her slow down. A powerful story of a mother, fighter, and a survivor who turned pain into purpose. This episode, let this be the reminder for all of us to check in, slow down, and live with gratitude. Hey everyone, it's your Stella Realtor Stella, and welcome to the Stella Talk Show, where real stories meet real strategy and real success. Sometimes life's hardest moments break us open, only to rebuild us into who we were really meant to be. Today's guest, Raquel, is a mother, a fighter, and a survivor whose story of strength through stage 3 breast cancer will move you, inspire you, and remind you what really matters in life. This episode is just not for people battling cancer. It's for anyone who's ever been told they can't and decided to rise anyway. Because sometimes the most powerful stories don't start with success, they start with struggle. And today we are diving deep into the journey of resilience, motherhood, and the reminder that even in the darkest storms, the light within us never fades. Let's dive in. Hi Raquel, welcome to the show.
Hi Stella, thank you so much for having me.
It's a pleasure to have you. When you told me your story, Raquel, it inspired me to the core that I thought this is something that we definitely need to share, especially in October where the Cancer Awareness Month is. Before everything changed your life into what happened, tell us a little bit about your life as a mother before the storm hits.
The everyday life was running from one activity to the next, taking them to school, preparing lunches, dinners, trying to squeeze in a little bit of exercise for myself, meal preps, extracurricular activities like Kuma and dance. It was just constant go, go, go rush of one thing to the next.
Exactly. That's what motherhood is all about, right? When you have your kids, you have 4 beautiful kids, and I know they keep you on your toes. Have you ever felt like that you were on autopilot?
All the time.
All the time?
All the time. Yes. It definitely felt like that.
Yeah.
Like everything was just blurred.
Blurred. I know. It's amazing, to have that family that you really wanted to have. But, when things happen, there's a reason for that as well. So tell me, when you had that first feeling of something was not right, when did that happen and how you felt?
Roughly, it felt, it's hard to sort of pinpoint because I was suppressing it. So I could feel that my body was sending like electric currents, but it was painful.
Okay.
And I guess in a way at the same time, I sort of felt like I had a hard lump, but I kept saying, I'll get it checked out, I'll get it checked out. And then that was probably around May. And then by June is when I actually made the appointment, went for the appointment, and they told me that it was sort of inconclusive, that if it was something serious, I wouldn't be feeling pain or notice that it was there, and that they would monitor it.
And what was your gut feeling at that time?
At the time, I knew it was something, but since I've heard so many stories that it could be benign, just a cyst, that's part of the reason I think as to why I kept sort of holding off and pushing it and not thinking that it was something worse, because I didn't feel any different other than the odd discomfort of electricity pain. I was just so busy and wrapped in the day-to-day and taking care of the kids and making sure that they were okay, that it's, you put yourself last, right?
Yeah, don't we all as mothers, right? We always don't prioritize ourselves. We want to make sure we are there in our best version for our kids, for our family, for our spouse. We always put ourselves at the very bottom of the priorities.
Absolutely.
And when things like this happen, that's why it's actually a struggle to get to where you need to be to get things checked. Right, but I see that it took time, but you had the strength to still go get it checked. So tell me, when you actually got diagnosed and heard those 3 words, it's cancer. How did you feel? How did that happen?
So still in disbelief. I'll start like that, because even though I was holding off, once it came to the point that I did the ultrasound, I did the mammogram, and they came back with the results to say that they were going to review it and monitor it, but couldn't give me any real concrete answers as to how often, if it was going to be 3 months, 6 months, a year. I had to keep advocating and saying that I needed some answers. I needed a second opinion. So I was referred to a specialist. The specialist was the surgeon. And when she saw the results compared to what she was feeling, she noticed that there was discrepancies and that obviously something was not right. And at the time I said, well, whatever it is, get rid of it. If it's, you know, some sort of surgery or anything, just take it out. And of course, she was like, well, I don't want to just open you up without knowing what it is. Let's do a biopsy and so forth. So I went to go get the results for the biopsy, and again, thinking nothing of it, that it was going to be benign, a cyst, so forth. And so it was a busy, regular day. It was actually the first day of school for the kids in September 9th, 2021. And they were actually waiting outside for me. They dropped me off at the hospital. So I went in.
2021, that's COVID time.
During COVID, yes.
Yes. So
I went in by myself. And again, just thinking that it was going to be a regular meeting of information of, oh, well, you know, these are the next steps, but minor. And so when she actually said that, you know, it's breast cancer and advanced aggressive stage 3, HER2, I was extremely just shocked and disbelief. I was speechless. There was nothing that I could say. Like, you just go numb. Everything sort of just blacks out and everything stays still. Like, you feel like you're in those movies where they slow it down for you.
Yeah.
So I literally was speechless, because at that point then they're trying to inform you and give you all the information, and you can't absorb anything. So they're just giving you packages of information for you to review at another time. And then when I got into the car, Chris asked, you know, are you okay? Is everything good? And I couldn't even answer him. I sort of just looked at him blank, and he kind of dismissed it because he knew something was up. And I was just like, we'll talk about it when we get home, because all the kids were there and we had other activities and things to happen that day that I didn't want to all of a sudden, you know, ruin the moment of expectations for the kids. So yeah, it was a hard experience to live through or go through at the time. But at a different moment in the evening, when I actually sat down to tell Chris that it wasn't good news that I had received, he also was very shocked and speechless, surprisingly. But a huge support once he was actually able to process everything. He was a huge support tool and partner with everything.
Wow. Now I'm just trying to put myself in that particular place with you when you're describing that. That is, and you have to hear it on your own, with no one to hold your hand in that situation. That is strength. And for you to come back to your family in the car and still hold on to it because you don't want to break it and spoil the day for your kids, that's a strong mother figure that I'm saying. That's resilience. Oh my God, you know, just listening to your journey there itself gives a lot of empowerment to have that mindset, the way of thinking, because, you know, those are words that nobody wants to hear from a diagnosis perspective, because, you know, it's a huge deal, and we have seen many families go through that, you know, as a family or sometimes, you know, individually, and it's not easy. So when it comes down to, hey, it's happening to me, as you mentioned, it's like you're in a movie. It's hard to digest. And it took. I can imagine the strength that it would have taken you to sit down with Chris and explain it to him, because I know he's a very strong person. You have a great spouse, but still, it's a huge journey ahead of you as a family now. So tell me, what was the moment like when you and Chris decided to tell your family, your kids?
So I think for the most part, or the beginning part of, or the first couple of days, it was disbelief and not allowing negativity sink in. Because if I would allow those thoughts to even try to sneak in, I would get emotional and I'd start to cry. An example would be the next day when we had to take the kids to school and we're driving, and all of a sudden my mind's racing and I just think, oh my God, how would life be like for them, right? Without a mom. And so, from the minute that you have a child and they're born, you know that you have to protect them. And sometimes you've got like sleepless nights and stuff. And in that moment, it was one of those that it just hit. And so I knew that can't happen. So they have been my push for everything. Thankfully, we had a contact of a really good friend of Chris's, was the top surgeon for breast cancer research and at North York General. And Chris called her and reached out and let her know what the diagnosis was and everything, and she was able to give us a lot of back information of these are the statistics, these are the situations and possible outcomes. And she was very blunt. So she basically said that you've got to fight whatever it is. If you choose to be and do things naturally without medication, sorry, but you still have to do the medication. So you have to take the chemo and so forth. So in discussing and finding all this information from her, Chris and I decided that we weren't actually going to tell the kids. So we didn't tell the kids. They were, or at least I thought at the time, too young to understand and be able to deal with it. So according to them, they just thought that mom was mom and mom was, busy, but that everything was okay. Basically that mom was just spending time and going to appointments, but mom was fine. So it was a bit challenging, but with the good support from both sets of parents, we were able to schedule my chemo sessions on Fridays in the morning. The kids would go to school, I'd say bye, they'd come home, grab certain things before I'd get home, and spend the weekends at their grandparents'. They'd come back home late at night on Sundays, say goodnight to me, and then I'd see them briefly first thing in the morning on Mondays, and off to school they'd go. So I had Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday to recoup from going under treatment. So then the times that they would see me, I would start to feel back to normal, where to them then mom was mom. So they never really got to see me tired, exhausted. They did see me a little irritable at times because of the certain medications that they had to give me. They had to drain my estrogen, so that put me into early menopause. So that made me extremely irritable. So even if I didn't want to snap at them, just certain things or the hormones or lack of thereof was very emotional for me. So I had to be aware of that to make sure that I wasn't taking it out on them, because it wasn't something that I could help. It was just the changes of medication and, again, hormones and things like that they've removed. But after everything, the one day, the way that the kids found out was they had the run for Terry Fox at school. And in a way, while I was diagnosed, we had some other family members that were diagnosed as well, but in other areas of cancer. So there was 4 of us going through some sort of cancer at the time.
Wow.
And the kids come home one day and they're like, "Oh, Mom," they're so excited to tell me, we did Terry Fox today, and on the paper we said that we were running for this uncle and this aunt and so forth. And I said, "Oh, that's amazing, next year you can add Mummy's name to the list." And so then that opened up the door for us to have that communication and that discussion with them, to let them know that Mummy was sick, Mummy had cancer, this is everything Mummy had to do, but Mummy's fine now. So they only found out after the fact that I had gone through everything.
You gave me goosebumps there. Wow, that's I don't know how I would hold back something like that. It's crazy, like you see your kids every day, and you are doing it to protect them. To protect them from the pain that they may have to go through, and all the questions that will arise in these small brains, right? But it takes a lot of courage and a lot of strength to keep it away from your loved ones and to battle in silence and still be there in full form as a mom.
Yeah. I think the hardest part, which I didn't like to relive, was always having to tell people, like close family and friends, that I was diagnosed, that I was dealing with this, because I didn't want their sympathy. I didn't want them to change their behavior towards me. So that's how it was, and it was more painful having to tell them because of the way that they would react, and right away they would start to like cry and get quiet because they're starting to process or trying to process it. And it would affect me and hurt me more and make me more emotional living and seeing their reactions to hearing the news than how it came across or me listening to the news. And so it was a constant, like especially with my parents, it was telling them, I will keep you up to date. I will let you know when I have appointments or the up-to-dates and results that they give me, but please don't constantly keep asking me, are you okay? Do you need anything? So they always would either go and ask Chris if there was anything that we needed or what certain updates were, because they knew that they didn't want to upset me by asking me. And even though certain times it would escape, but again, I understand that because they're parents. They're looking out for me or trying to look out for me and make sure that I'm okay, just like I am doing for my kids. So it was an interesting situation of having to explain and express that situation to certain family friends.
Yeah. What was your mindset at that time, Raquel? Like, what was some things that you told yourself to be resilient as the woman you are today? Like, what did you tell yourself to keep in line with your plans, to tell yourself that you will get through this?
That I need to be there for my kids. It's already said and done. You can't turn back time. You can't. There's nothing you can do to erase what has already happened. And because it was already advanced, to stage 3, potentially even to the cusp of stage 4. It was, you've got to fight. You've got to do whatever it takes, however painful, however awful experience, you got to do everything.
Yeah.
In order to like be there for your kids and see your kids get married, have their kids of their own.
Yeah. You fought for yourself so you can be there for your kids. That's beautiful. That's strength. You went through chemo, you mentioned, and you went through double mastectomy, radiation, and all this happened during COVID time. So I believe most of them you have to do it on your own, because a lot of the hospitals, they were not allowing families in. Tell me, your experience there, how you went through it.
So Chris was able to come with me to the first appointment that I had at the hospital, and then there was a lot of cases that were coming about with COVID that they couldn't take the chances, especially because everybody's immune system in that ward is low. So they decided that we couldn't have any visitors with us. And so at the same time, there were certain women that were going through similar steps of breast cancer and having to go through treatment at the same time as me, that I was able to build relationships with those women. And we noticed that, one in particular, that our sessions were at the same day, at the same time, and so we'd start to chat and try and make light of the situation. We'd be watching similar TV shows, so you'd see us in the corner always sitting beside each other and actually laughing, and you'd think that's strange because you have to be quiet and everybody's there and going through their treatments. That we've started to grow and built a friendship and found out that we actually lived close together. So we would take turns carpooling and we would come to our sessions. So we ended up becoming one another's support.
That's amazing.
So, a good thing that came out of that was a beautiful relationship and friendship. So we're like breast friends.
That's a good term, yeah. Are you still in touch?
We are, yes.
That's amazing.
We actually participate in the CIBC Run for the Cure now, every day, every year. And we're constantly in communication. We get together constantly. It feels as if though I've known her my whole life. It's very crazy.
Isn't it crazy that the darkest moment shows you the perfect friends, the perfect circles that you need to be, right? That's crazy, but that's absolutely what you needed at that time. Someone that you can, share your feelings, who's going through the same journey who sees through you, right? And that flourished into a beautiful friendship that you're cherishing today. That's beautiful. Yeah. You were mentioning that cancer gave you a gift. Tell me a little bit about your thoughts there.
It gave me a gift because it gave me the opportunity to realize that I needed to slow down. I need to make more time to be there for the kids, but genuine time, not just the chauffeur, the cook, the cleaner for them. Spending one-on-one time, quality time, making time for my family, friends, deeper relationships. And it gave me the opportunity to, again, make a great connection with someone that was going through the same thing as me, where we didn't have to pretend to be someone or something that we weren't because of the fact that we were experiencing that journey together. Almost identical, our journeys of the steps of what we had to go through. And it gives me the opportunity now to be there as a support for those people that are being affected by breast cancer one way or another, whether they've been diagnosed or their family members are experiencing this, have experienced this, and it gives me the opportunity to be able to share my story and my experience, and that there is light at the end of the tunnel, right? That even in your darkest moments, beautiful things can flourish from them.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. That's beautiful how you put it together. Has the way that you actually look at time, has that changed after your experience with cancer, and your priorities and your sense of purpose? How does that feel after your experience there?
Definitely, we try to make more time with their family, slow down, take vacations to create those memories, those moments more often. My purpose is still to make sure that my children are, properly let go into the societies where they can have strong foundational values, education, and as well, it's there's just so many things that are, you just want to express. So just making sure that, the children are very well prepared to be able to face the world and the challenges ahead of them. And my priorities are my family, slowing down, taking vacations, taking time, not only for myself, but for them. My purpose is to share my experience and awareness of this disease, because another thing is I was young, and I fall under the scope of what was expected for breast cancer, and nowadays it's getting or spreading and starting younger. And so I, being a mom of 3 daughters and even my son, can potentially generate or be hereditary to eventually getting breast cancer at some point in their life. And so now I need to be on top of their health and make sure that they are getting checked earlier now, if for whatever reason they get diagnosed, that we can nip it in the bud earlier rather than later.
Yeah.
Because the last thing I would want is for them to have to experience what I've had to go through.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. And every word that you're saying is it echoes courage in my ears, because that takes a lot of strength to plan it that way, especially when you have experienced the pain yourself and you're going through the journey yourself. You have been, as you mentioned, you've been advocating for cancer ever since. You've been going for the yearly CIBC runs to make awareness. Why do you think that's important, Raquel? Do you think that people need to be more aware of what's happening, the journeys, and how the journeys looks like?
Definitely. Because again, as I mentioned, it's something that can happen and affect not only female but males. And it is something, cancer in general is starting to affect younger people. So it's always better to check yourself, advocate for yourself, push for what you believe in. If something doesn't feel right, make sure you get it checked out, make sure you get a second opinion. And there are steps, there are ways, and so many changes in this health field that is advancing, and where they're able to find these things so much earlier than what they were able to before.
Yeah. No, that's absolutely right. And I wanted to ask you this. This just jumped in my head right now. But in the past, cancer was like a taboo subject. Like we don't want to talk about cancer. And I remember growing up, like I'm from Sri Lanka, so when I was growing up in Sri Lanka, I remember like if anything about cancer, there's like, oh, don't talk about it. It's almost like it's a contagious disease, which is not. But with time, there has been more awareness. People talk more openly about the experience. It's great that you are doing this with me today, because that actually gives the strength to another mother who's just being diagnosed, or like who is in fear of getting their self checked, because of the fear of this journey, right? And what may be the outcome. We have come a long way, I believe, but I believe there's more to be done to spread awareness, especially like countries like Canada that we're in right now. I know there's a lot of awareness, but some countries that is not as open to discussing in open, they still need awareness to help those women, and as you mentioned, men too, who may or who are or who may be going through this. Absolutely. So tell me, what was your mindset throughout the journey, Raquel? And I know you went through your treatments with strength, with positivity. That was one of the key things that you need to grasp when you're going through hard battles. And your family has been the pillar for you, especially Chris and your parents with your kids. What were the main things that you were telling yourself to get through this journey?
Just keep pushing.
Just keep pushing.
Take one day at a time. And as crazy as the schedules were, the days were, the process, when I think of it right now, it flew by. So as intense as everything was, the steps and the journey that it took, it's a blur now. Like it flew by. Yeah. So, and the one thing was always, you gotta just take it as it comes and keep going. Push.
Yeah, the best you can.
The best you can.
Give it your all. Yeah, that's exactly what you did. I want you to share something with me. So if someone listening right now who is in the fear of getting diagnosed, or who has just been diagnosed, what is the one thing that you will tell them?
Keep fighting. Do whatever it takes. I mean, it is what it is, and all you've got to do is just keep pushing now to fight to get to the other side. Yeah, like now don't let that diagnosis discourage you from your goals. Just keep at it, do your best, do what needs to be done to get through that. And and I'm absolutely very pleased that you did the exact same thing. And you're a wonderful mother and a beautiful woman, and you are here today speaking to me about your journey, with much courage and beauty. So thank you.
Yeah, you're most welcome. Raquel, after everything, what does the word life mean for you? I know it's heavy.
It's very heavy. It's just enjoy. Like, you never know what you're going to be dealt, right? I mean, you plan your life and you say, okay, this is how, you're going to raise your kids, and once the kids are done in high school or university, then, and they leave the house, then we can start our life and start to travel. But clearly, for myself, there was other plans that took place where if it wasn't for having strength to fight and want to live and want to enjoy a beautiful life, I would have given up. But because I wanted to be able to live that dream of traveling and seeing the world and being there and watching my kids get married and seeing and watching them have the family of their own, you just gotta push. You just gotta want to live and breathe and be able to have experiences in order to have life and live.
Exactly. What I'm hearing from you is don't wait to live your life. Live life every day. Right? That's why they call it the present. Right? It is a present. So we need to unwrap that every day and enjoy what's in there. So that's absolutely amazing. Raquel, you share a lot of resilience, the power. I see you nervous sharing your story, but because it takes a lot of courage to come down and share your pain points, right? And how much strength that it took to, uplift yourself during COVID times on your own, mostly in those therapy rooms, right, while going through chemo. And I can only imagine the things that might be running in your head, thinking about your kids. But it took resilience and power and a lot of courage for you to push through and be the beautiful woman you are today, empowering everybody else who are in this journey. So thank you very much, Raquel, for taking the time and joining me in our show today.
Thank you so much for having me again, Stella.
You're welcome. Raquel's story reminds us that sometimes life doesn't just test us, it transforms us. What started as pain became purpose. What began as fear became faith. And through it all, she didn't just survive, she rose. To every woman, every mother, and every warrior listening right now, this is your reminder. You are not defined by what happens to you, but by how you rise from it. Your scars are not your weakness. They are your proof that you fought, that you endured, and that you won. So take a deep breath, hold your head high, and remember, even the darkest nights end with sunrise. Raquel chose to turn her pain into power, her journey into purpose, and her fight into fuel for others. And that's exactly what the Stella Talk Show is all about. Real stories, real strategy, and real success. If this episode moved you, don't keep it to yourself. Share it with someone who needs the hope today. Subscribe so you never miss another story that changes lives. And always remember, your light still shines even after the storm. I'm your Stella Realtor Stella, and until next time, stay strong, stay grateful, and stay stellar. Thank you for spending your time with us on the Stella Talk Show. We hope you found value in today's episode and gained insights to help elevate your lifestyle. If you enjoyed the discussion, please like, subscribe, and share it with anyone who could benefit. It means the world to us. Until our next episode, stay inspired, and I'll see you soon on our next Stella Talk Show.